All right, good afternoon, everybody. I certainly hope that everybody is well, that you are having a fabulous Thursday. We are super excited that you all are here and that we are going to get to share this time with you all regarding our Alabama IDD provider GERs for Region 2. Thank you to everyone who signed up and joined. We are going to get started in just a few minutes. But before we do that, let me just get my screen up and do some introductions really quick. So you all just bear with me. Present. All right. So again, this is our presentation for the Alabama GER training. Just a disclaimer, we are going to go over some information today. We're going to show you different things, various things about how you use the Therap system for incident management. Everything that we show you, even if we show you a tip and a trick that maybe you never saw before, you think that that's handy, hey, I'd like to take that back to my agency. Everything needs to be in compliance with your state and federal guidelines. So however, ADMH has giving you guidance in terms of how you use the information, how you report information into the system. That has to be your foundation and the law by which you guide your documentation as well as your organizational policy. So just please keep that in mind. All right. Our presenters for today from the Therap team, you have myself, Ashaya Dotson. Most people know me by my nickname Shay. I'm a state implementation specialist. And also on the line, I have my colleague Devin Hardy, who's a training and implementation specialist. Devin lives in the Alabama area. Devin, you want to say hello or anything to the people?
Good afternoon.
And I live in Hotlanta, in a suburb of Atlanta. In addition to our Therap presenters, we also have your very own Region 2 staff with us. And so we're super excited to have Sandy Hanks on the line with us today to help with the question and answer session. So Sandy, do you want to say anything to the people right now?
Hello, everybody. Speak up if you got any questions. Because we're just here to clarify some things that maybe you were confused about. And Devin, would you send me a copy of everybody that's in attendance?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. So again, we are super excited to be here today. Before we launch further into our presentation, we want to take an opportunity to get some feedback from you all. And so we are going to have some polls that we're going to send out and ask for your participation in. All right. So the first one we're going to ask is about your experience with Therap or ADMH GER trainings. I am launching that now. You should see that available. Please participate in the poll by answering.
Okay. And it's like that's the audio and everything. Yeah, she's on stuff now. There was the nurse, Shay, and she was having problems seeing what you just put on the screen. I'm not seeing anything. She said she's not seeing anything.
I'm so sorry, guys. Thank you. Are you seeing the poll?
I can see it. She said she can't see anything.
Okay. I will get that fixed.
She's gonna go back down to her office.
All righty.
Okay.
We'll get that fixed. Give me just a moment. I apologize. Huh. All right, so it looks like we have half of the people who have responded to the poll. We're just waiting on those numbers to come up a little bit more. Right, we've got 67% of the people who are participating that have voted. Just waiting on a couple more people so we can get that to 100%. All right, we're at 75%.
All right.
All right. And Barry, I did see where you were having some issues answering the poll. Not sure why that is. Let me go back and see where we are. Is there anybody else that's having trouble answering the poll? If you can, in the question section, just say having trouble answering the poll. That will help us to have that feedback. Okay. We got 77% of the participants in. Make that last push. Let's see who else can get in there.
Come on, people.
We'll give it a few more seconds and then I'll just go ahead and close it out. Oh, 85%. You're doing great.
Right.
All right. I'm going to take it at that. I'm going to close the poll out. All right. All right. So we were asking you about how have you ever attended a Therap or an ADMH training? And so we see that majority of the people have attended a training within the last 3 months. Some of you, it's been more than 6 months or longer. About 27% are saying that they were trained by someone at their agency. And we have a few people on the line who have never been trained. So we are super excited that you are here. We're excited that we'll be able to answer a variety of questions and meet every person at their different level of need. So thank you for taking the opportunity to come to this training. I'm going to put another poll out there and take those results away. Okay. And now we're going to go to the next one. And this one is at your agency. We want to know, what role do you play in the GER process? Okay. So at your agency, what role do you play in the GER process? This is one that if it's you play multiple roles, you have the ability to select multiple choices. So we have about 46% of the people who are on the line who are voting. Just trying to get those numbers to jump up a little bit more. Almost there. We're at 77% or 71%. All right. Let's see. The question here. All right, Barry. So thank you for letting us know that you review the GERs. Have just about 80%. So besides Barry, if you're able to answer those polls, please give us that feedback. few more seconds, and then I'm going to go ahead and close it out. All right, I'm going to close it out. We had about 86% of people that responded, and here are the results. So we have 67% of the people who are here that are there at least submit the GERs. A good bit, majority of the people are involved in the reviewing process. Some who are providing follow-up, and a lower percentage of people who are approving, which is right where we want that to be. And we'll talk about why those numbers sort of represent what we want to see on the screen as we get into the presentation. So thank you guys so much for participating in those polls. Thank you for giving us that feedback. We appreciate the interaction, and it helps to kind of guide us in what we should present to you as we go through this presentation, kind of knowing your level of knowledge and what your experience is in using the GERs, as well as your role in the various parts. So hopefully you can see the PowerPoint presentation again. Just really quick, did you know that you can reset your own password with Therap Self-Password Reset? If you attended our morning session on the administrative functionalities and roles, we went through that process today. If we have enough time after our question and answer session, we're certainly happy to present that to those of you who were not a part of that morning session. If that is something that as an audience you would like to see, you haven't gone through the process yet, if you will go ahead in the question and section and indicate yes, would like to see the password reset process. That will help us to know the level of interest. Again, we'll show this at the end based on how many people are interested in it. So if you'll take an opportunity right now and let us know if you're interested in seeing that at the end of this presentation, that will be helpful. Okay, you can answer that in the question section. All right, we are going to move forward. And so our objective today is to go through the GER. The first thing that we want to do is to make sure that people are reminded that you have an Alabama IDD resource page on a specified Therap Alabama state page. So we want to go through that. We're going to go through an overview of the GER privileges to make sure you know what's necessary to have on in those super roles in order for people to see what they're supposed to see and have the appropriate privileges to respond as they need to. We're going to review the life cycle of the GER and go over a specific example about how we are using the GER to cover COVID-19 tracking. We're going to talk about when you need to use the Ger Resolution and how you can search for those things or find that within your system. We are going to talk about multi-provider SCOM. So when you need to communicate to Sandy or someone on her team, how you can use that, or when she's trying to communicate to you, where you can find that. And then finally, we're going to have a question and answer session. And we're super excited again that Sandy is on to provide that insight that you need to know as a provider, so that when you are submitting your information, you are providing the right information, and that it lessens the back and forth of Sandy having to come back and request information, or other people from her team having to come back and request information, maybe some stuff that you didn't know you needed to present, or you're just not sure about the functionality of where you should attach that information. So that is our goal today, to make sure that we provide that level of information for you. It looks like we have at least one person who is interested in the self-password reset process. So certainly we'll make time before the session is over to ensure that you get that knowledge. Okay. All right. So that is our goal for today. Without further ado, we're going to log in and get started. So I'm going to pause my screen for just a moment so I can switch to our Therap account. All right. So you should now be able to see my Therap website screen. This should be a screen that you are very familiar with. Just close out some of these things up here. On this website, we've recently redone it, but if you have, come to training or been using the system recently, you probably are very familiar with these changes. Just want to make sure that you know on this menu, if you're looking for your states page, one of the things that changed about our website is how you get to those state pages. So if you click on menu here, you'll notice off to the right hand side, you can click on the word states. And then if you come down to this section, you'll see state contracts. And the very top one is our Alabama IDD provider state page. On this page is where you're going to find many, many, many resources. But of most importance in this current day and hour, with everything that's going on with COVID-19, are these state materials and guidance for you in this process. You probably received a copy of these via email from the state. We also sent it out, links to it in a eye contact. So hopefully you all received that. But you also have this available on this page. So if you need to refer to it, you have that information there. As we are going through the presentation today, Devin is going to refer to the one that you'll use for how you're tracking the information within your system. But I just want to call your attention to those links that are there, and he'll go to the specific one that you need to reference. As well, for your general GER documentation, we have the incident mapping document. It is extremely important that you're familiar with this document and that you are using it, as it gives you the indication of what your notification level should be, what type, what's the definition, and your timeline for how quickly that information needs to get to Sandy and her team. Okay, so very important that you're referencing this. Yes.
Also, everybody, make sure you use these terms, not the old terms when you were using when you were handwriting in incident reports. This is what the guidelines we follow. If you have any questions about something and don't know what to put, just give me a call anytime. But this is it. Don't make up something. Use these terms here, please.
Very good. So we have this here, and this was not, created by Therap alone. We sat in council, in consultation with Sandy and her team and others from the state, and got their guidelines in terms of what they're looking for. And so let me stop right there and just say, and I try to remember to say this, when it comes to Therap and our role in this process, we are your documentation system. So we are kind of like your process experts. What do I mean by that? I mean that we are going to be the ones who tell you how to walk through the system, where you find certain electronic documentation that you should be using, and the different functionality that's available within our Therap system. But when it comes to the content, the expectations of policy and procedure, that is where Sandy and her team and leaders from ADMH come in. So it's really important that you follow, again, the guidelines that they are given and that they put out. And we know that, systems and policies and things change over time. So we always try to make sure that we have the most up-to-date information available to you all. And this mapping document is not only available here, but it's also available inside of the Therap system as you are doing your GERs. And when Devin goes into his presentation, he'll be able to point out where that link is. But very important that you are referring to this information and following those guidelines. I promise that if you follow this information, it will help you a whole bunch. In addition to that, you also have this chart here that gives you some additional information with regards to the administrative functions. We covered this in our morning session. So if you find that you maybe missed out on that and there's some information that you think that you need to know, please know that you can go and register for any of these dates. They are not region specific. They are just the general information that we're covering with all Alabama providers, but the afternoon sessions, the one that you're in today, is specific. This is the only one that Sandy is designated to be on unless she decides to join another one at a later point in time. But this is that one that you're going to get that specific information from her. In terms of other guidelines, if you needed to understand the mortality report flow chart, that information is there. If you've misidentified a GER and now you need to do something different with it, that information is there as well. Okay, so please make sure that you're referring to these guidance and this reference information that is made available to you. Okay. At this point, I am going to turn it over to Devin, who is going to walk us through the life cycle of the GER. So let me.
All right. Can everybody hear me and everybody see my screen? Shay?
You are good to go.
All right. So just picking back up where Shay left off, always want to just reiterate the Alabama page. If you have not, sorry, let's close this out over here for now. If you have not downloaded or printed off your copy of the Alabama incident mapping document, just want to show you where it is again on the Alabama page. That is a printable document. Print as many as you need, one at your workstations or wherever, but it is always available to you on the internet. So using the GER that we're going to do today, pretty much everyone on here has done a GER inside of Therap, so we're just going to enter one in just very quickly and talk along the way, but I am going to use my Alabama incident mapping document. The scenario that we'll use today, this individual, I don't know, they had a fall. So for a fall, we see our Alabama type, we see the notifications for GER right here and your time frame. So let me just log in real quick and let's get started. Select your program, your individual. Always double check your individual and the program. If these two things are wrong, then of course you click on dashboard and start over. You know that information. The first few fields that are required fields indicated by the red asterisk, event date, report date. Therapist always has today's date populated in those fields because it's operating on the good faith assumption that we're going to fill out this GER as soon as this incident takes place, but depending on the workflow of our day and depending on the severity of the actual incident, that may not always be the case. So the difference between the event date and the report date, event date is the date the incident occurred, report date is the date you enter into the system.
Devin.
Hello?
Devin.
Yes.
Listen, I want to say, everyone, make sure you use the individual's given name, not nickname. We were reviewing a GER the other day. At the top in this section, they had the person's given name, but then when they started describing the incident that happened, they used a nickname, so we really wasn't aware of who they were talking about. So the name should be consistent. For the individual, use their given name, and also just don't say staff. Give the staff full name. Also, the person that's doing the reporting is not the same person that's approved it. That's it.
Thank you. That was a question, that my test question, but thank you for already giving the answer.
I gave an answer.
Yeah. All right. So, reported by, again, you see your name there, but if you receive this information from a person to complete this GER, then of course they are the reporter. All right. Reporter's relationship, of course, with the staff. Injury, notification level. For fall, just going back to my incident mapping document, it is supposed to be a medium. All right, describe what happened before the event. Again, these sections right here that are required, we do have to answer. And of course, if you suspect some type of abuse or neglect and you say yes, you get the pop-up window where you can choose what type of abuse, neglect, or exploitation. By clicking on the word other, it allows you to type in the other. But as long as you say no, you don't get those pop-up fields. Moving on to page 2. Again, when you're using Therap, Therap operates in real time. So whether you're in test mode or in your live account, you have to use the current time or past time. We're not using that crystal ball to forecast the incident over in the future. Also, if by chance you said your incident was discovered and you discovered it, just always remember to mark it discovered first. Leave your time of injury blank and you mark it unknown and you fill out your discovered date and time. Okay. Let me just put my time back in there. Even though these other fields do not have a red asterisk, we want to paint a picture to the regional office. So even if you know the answer and it's not required, please go ahead and answer those fields if you know the answer to those. Color and size. Again, I don't know how many people walk around with measuring tapes and measuring the size of the actual injuries on their individuals or so forth. So you don't see a red asterisk, but you can clearly always put something comparable to that size of injury in your description, which is what we'll do in just a moment. Under body parts, you can use the drop down to select, or you can use the body diagram and click. If you use the body diagram, just remember to click on the submit button and it'll add it to the drop down sections. Treatment by time of treatment, treatment date. If your staff is completing this GER at your agency, your staff is doing it. Normally they don't know the treatment because sometimes, most times, the nurses that are on call and the nurses at the facilities are the ones that provide that treatment. So if it's a direct support staff, they're leaving this section blank, and when the nurse goes in to review it, they add this information in. But if you know this information, needless to say, let's just fill it out. Treatment date. If the date of the treatment is different than the date of the incident, so say if this incident happened yesterday, but they didn't receive treatment till today, then my event date would show yesterday, but my treatment date, I would have to post today that this is the day that they received treatment. Injury photo. If you have waivers and consent forms signed by your individuals or their legal guardians or their power of attorneys giving you permission to take pictures or photographs of your individuals that you provide service to, then take a picture of the actual injury and you can attach it to the GER. Pictures are worth 1,000 words, and those that are reviewing it on the state level can actually see the actual injury or what that has taken place. Summary. You have 4,000 characters for your summary. In your summary, I always like to tell when I train, tell everyone, if you paint the picture by asking those questions that you learned in grade school, the who, the what, the when, the where, the why, the how, while you're typing this out, you have wrote a successful piece of documentation and you've painted a crystal clear picture in which whoever is reading or reviewing this particular GER can understand it clearly. So literally, I sit and I ask myself, who am I talking about? What are they doing? What happened? All of these things you want to cover in your summary.
Also, it doesn't matter what the type of incident it is, even if it's a med error, you still fill out all the sections that Devin just pointed out to you. For example, we had one that said staff forgot to give the medicine, okay? And again, they didn't put the name, so I'm going to send it back after the team discussed it and we all agree. What was the staff? You know, what was the person doing that made them forget to give the medication? Or if it's the wrong medication, you know, what was done? What happened to the individual in the adverse effect? What disciplinary action? So if you give us, like Devin said, paint a picture, then you won't, we won't have any follow-up unless it's just something very outrageous. But, you know, that's why you get them coming back to you, because you did not give us all the information. Like Devin said, you didn't paint your picture. That's it, Devin.
Okay. Et cetera, et cetera. So you understand what Sandy just said and what I said. You painted a picture and you're putting all that information there. If by chance at your agency there was a witness, so you and another staff, you're the staff that's completing this GR, but another staff witnessed the actual incident taking place, and you need to mention that another staff witnessed this incident. You may also want to include that in the summary. Co-worker or another staff, Sally Sue, whatever her witness the incident taking place. These things you want to put in the actual summary. If you call the nurse and the nurse ordered you, in this case, using this scenario, since we are going to the ER, I can say nurse was called in my summary and nurse ordered me to take Royce to the ER. Next. So when I click next, this is just summarizes what we've already put into the system thus far. Mainly, it's summarizing the event space. So if I left anything out, I can click the edit button. If it was all wrong altogether, I can remove it. This button that says add another event simply means that in the event that there was something else that was related to this particular incident that I'm doing, I can add another event. For an example, changing scenarios. Royce may have seizures, so we have to do a GER on Royce having a seizure. But during the course of the seizure, Royce sustained an injury. So I can add another event and talk about the injury that Royce received during his seizure. In the event that there was something like a behavior, Royce hit another individual. That individual hit Royce back. Royce ended up with a busted lip. That's add another event, talk about the injury. This was the first part of it, talk about him being an aggressor and he attacking someone, but to add the injury, add another event, we'll talk about the injury that he sustained while he was attacking someone. Also, in this case, just to show you the COVID-19 piece, we're going to the hospital. So while Royce is in the ER, we got informed that there was someone in the ER that tested positive, and Royce was near that person during that time. So I can add another event just to show you where you're going to find the COVID information. It will be under other. So when I go in and add other, based upon, let me go back to the Alabama incident mapping document. So in your Alabama mapping incident document, COVID-19 memo will give you the additional breakdown, like the incident mapping. Here are your topics, your time frame, your notification levels, all of that. So based upon this, if it's a COVID-19 related case, here's where you're going to find how to put that information in. So I'm jumping back to my GER. I want to say my event type based upon that is communicable disease, COVID-19. I'm going to say discovered, because I don't know what time he was actually exposed, but we were at the hospital when it happened. It happened today, and it happened around 12:45 p.m. Other, and I'm going to say ER/hospital. And then I can put in my summary. While Royce was receiving treatment at the hospital, we were informed that someone tested positive for COVID-19, that he was sitting near or whatever, blase, and we can hit the next button. That keeps you from making 2 incident reports when you use this particular feature of the GER. Again, once you have your event information entered into the system, you're going to always get this recap or quick synopsis of what you've entered in thus far. At this point, you can continue to fill the GER out in its entirety, or if you have a busy work day, you got a call, you got a meeting, you need to leave the office for something, and you really don't want to start over because, again, Therap does not auto-save. By clicking on preview, I know you didn't see it, but clicking on preview, scrolling all the way down to the bottom, you can actually save this GER, so you can come back to it later. Once you click save, as I did, again, remember, it will show up in your dashboard, in your to-do tab. And let me give the system time to catch up. All right, in the dashboard, in your to-do tab, whenever you see work lists under general event reports, that means there's a GER there that you're working on that you have not submitted. You're still working on it. Notice the status says in prep, here's the one we're working on. I can click it, open it back up. When I open it back up, it opens back up in the preview mode. However, I'm scrolling down and I'm looking for the section that is not completed yet, that we need to complete so we can submit. That section is called Actions Taken. And then I'm going to simply click Edit here. And it opens me back up to my GER to finish it. Remember, your corrective actions is always your immediate response to the incident. What did you do, or what did the staff do as the immediate response to the incident? In this case, since we said Royce failed and he did a fracture, we immediately took him to the hospital. Plan of future corrective actions is what follows your staff or your agency's immediate response. In this case, since he's going to the ER, we know we're going to leave with some discharge papers. So our plan of future corrective action can be follow the doctor's orders from the discharge notice. Since he's also been exposed to someone with COVID-19, we're going to follow the doctor's orders in terms of quarantine and how to monitor him for symptoms in it, or even get him tested for COVID-19 to make sure that Royce is safe. All of these are plan of future corrective actions based upon the GER or this scenario about the GER we've entered in. Are there any
Devin,
thus far?
Yeah, Devin, FYI for everybody, if you have anybody that's been tested, exposed to the virus, please also call me on the on-call phone, because I'm on the COVID team and I have to report it daily of anybody we had tested, been exposed. And then also in that GR, if they have been tested and what you state, results is pending, because when we review it and we make our comments, and what we're going to say is follow up on status, meaning let us know what the test results were.
All right. Good. So you have your plan of action, your corrective actions, all of those are there. Here are your required, if you have any of these things required in terms of notification, who did you notify, or who did your staff notify at the agency? So one of them could be, for me, using this scenario, I notified my nurse because he fell. There was a fracture, or it started swelling immediately. I put in the time, the date that I notified my nurse, what time did I notify my nurse, who notified them, how did I notify them? That's one notification. But if I had to notify my supervisor as well, by clicking on that add more notification, I can click on here that I notified my supervisor. Who's my supervisor at my agency? Shay. What time did I notify her? Etc. Even if I had to notify, because as Sandy just stated, since we mentioned he got exposed to COVID-19, I can put on here that yes, I called Sandy Haynes at the regional office. All right. What time? For her, it may have been 1 o'clock because this was during the ER visit. So I called Sandy. I left a message. So you want to add all these notifications in here. All right. I may not have my external attachments yet, so I may not have these doctor's orders yet, or the discharge papers yet, but I can always come back in and attach them. So while I'm working on my GER for now, I can skip that part so I actually physically have them in my hand. I'm gonna preview my GER all over again. There might be notifications with it. Okay. All right, I'm looking at it. And then at this point, I'm going to submit it. But since I've tried to submit it, notice I have a message here that says this is built into the system. So this is not necessarily according to ADMH. This is how this demo account is built. But if you should see something like this, this message says, because I've chosen severe injury severity, I have to change my notification level. Anytime you see something like that that happens, just scroll to that section where that appears, and you will just click edit, because I know this is found in step 1 on page 1. My notification level, I would just simply come in and change my notification level. Click preview, and again, the system will allow me to submit it. Even though Sandy has already given you the answer, I'm still going to say, or ask this question: if you are the person that submit the GER, are you the person that can approve the GER? You can answer that in the question section. If you're the person that's submitting it, can you be the same person to approve it? Thank you, Wade. Thank you, Brianna. Thank you, Mary. So as long as we know that, because they're right, you cannot be the same person to approve it. So I just want you to be sure, everyone to be sure that and know that. So if you're going to submit the GER, even though you may have the ability to approve it, but you're submitting it, just because you have that functionality or that power at your agency to write a GER and approve it, if you're going to write it, you cannot approve it. Someone else needs to approve it. Just want you to be sure and always aware of that. All right? So on my dashboard, anytime, just reviewing the dashboard again, if you are the person at your agency that only can review GERs, you're going to see the review line every time a GER is submitted, and you can always go in and either click on the word review or click on the numbers over here under the notification levels to review them that way. If you have the person that can approve GERs at your agency, just always know that the approved line Whatever number is on the approved line, that number is how many you have to approve. Sometimes we get that confused and we think that's how many I've already approved. No, how many GERs out there that lies within your agency that you need to approve. And I know that has came up with a couple of agencies within the state where they're saying, well, I see the approve, it's saying approve, and I'm looking at the number on the approved line, so my incident manager should have it. No, that's how many you have to approve. Your incident manager does not get the actual GER to review, or does not go to your regional office for review until you click approve. Once you click approve, you're going to get this line that says follow up with a number over here. That's how many GERs you have approved at your agency. That also indicates that there could be information there for you to follow up on. So if I use this one, jumping to this one that says 1, that means this is an approved GER that we've done on Royce. If by chance Sandy comes back, or even the nurse responds, since they all review is on incident, whenever they review incidents, they have any questions about my GER, by scrolling down in your GER section to this part of it that says review/follow-up comments, you're going to see whatever questions or additional things that they may be asking of you in this section right here. So Sandy could simply reply back and say, don't forget, I need to have the discharge papers. So I'm going to see her name, her title over here, and then it's going to show me what she wants. Like it is saying here, it's going to show me, I need discharge papers. Then I can go back into the system, and where I see external attachments, click edit and attach those paperwork, that paperwork. Or if she just want to know, is it have the 14 days expired for the quarantine, I can just come right in this box and say, yes, we're on day 15, everything is normal, he's doing good, blase, blase, blase. By clicking
Now,
save,
go ahead.
By
Okay,
clicking,
you go first.
okay, and then I'll stop. By clicking save here does not mean it's going back to my dashboard. Save right here in this case, because I'm replying back via follow-up, it is going back to the regional office. Go ahead, Sandy.
Okay, I am, and what I always write in that box, and if it's no follow-up, you know, it's nothing you need to do. But when we need, the team wanted additional information, you have 5 business days from the date of the event to respond. So that's why I always put the date on it, so that you will know when it's to get it in before that date. If I don't get it, I go back and look to see if I got follow-up. So usually I either send you an SCOM, or I send you one of the letters letting you know that we have not received a follow-up. That's it, Devin.
Thank you. So are there any questions about using the mapping guide to actually help you write the GER, understanding where the COVID-19 guidelines is, how to review the GER, how to approve one, how to follow up on one? Everyone's pretty clear on that? Good. I'm taking it that silence means that silence is yes. All right, so Shay, you want to go ahead and let's talk about GR resolutions?
Sounds like a plan. All right. So, we all know that depending on what is required, whatever kind of incident that you're dealing with will depend on whether or not you need to do a GER resolution. Okay. So again, this information is outlined in your Alabama incident mapping document. If you come to let me make that larger. You come all the way to the bottom, it gives you a good outline of what the definition of an investigation is and what falls under that category, as well as how much time you have to get it in. Okay. So make sure that you are paying attention to those things. Also, if you see that is required within these definitions, also make sure that you're following up. And Sandy always does a great job of reaching out to providers to say, hey, I need further investigation on that. So make sure that you are referring to your guidelines. When you have to do an investigation, you're using the follow-up form that is called GER resolution. And you can get to a GER resolution in several different ways. So I'm going to pretend that I'm going in to the document that's pending approval. And so this was the incident that Devin just submitted in the system. And so because this one, maybe requires a little further investigation, if you are in this document, and it's in a pending approval process, or you're working through this document, you'll see a link here that says create GER resolution. So if you were to click on that link, it is going to automatically link the resolution to this form. So you will automatically be able to go from here and start a resolution. As well, you also can go to your your individual tab, and you see GER resolutions here. Any GERs that have been approved in the last 15 days, you can go in here and click on unaddressed GERs, and it's going to show you a list of any of those ones that have been unapproved in the last 15 days. You can also, and even if it's beyond 15 days, you can search for any of those that you need to do through your GER. You can search for them and start them there. You also could just come in here, click on new, and if that's up there, you can start it there. Okay, so you simply choose the one that you need to do and click on next. You'll notice that the form ID is there for you to know that this is connected to that particular GER. Your responsibility in terms of the incident, the investigation, when it comes to the date open and date closed, you notice that the date open is already filled in there. Okay, because this is the day that you came in and did this resolution. You are not responsible for closing this. So make sure that you are only putting the open date on this form, not the close date. If you put that close date on, that locks Sandy out from being able to see this document. And then you're going to have her coming back to you, asking you to create another one because you closed it out before she could see it. So your responsibility as a provider is to only have an open date there. And as you get to the bottom of the form, you're going to hear me say this again. When you come, your responsibility is to hit save, not close. Okay? Sandy, you were going to say something there?
Investigations, they are due 15 days from the event day. That's the allotted time you have. And don't wait on us to tell you to do an investigation, because you're wasting valuable time. We had incidents when people waited to us to reply to tell them to do the investigation. Then the staff is off. And with this pandemic going on, it might be somebody that might be quarantined and you can't get to them. So you know the instances of neglect, abuse, any kind of abuse and exploitation, those automatically require an investigation. So you know this, and we do, and I appreciate the providers that go ahead and say this happened, investigation already started. I'm gonna give them the date anyway, but that saves them time instead of waiting to hear from us, because we only review on Tuesday. So if the incident happened on Wednesday, we're not going to review it until the following Tuesday. So that's valuable time you wasted waiting on us just to tell you to start the investigation.
That's very good. Is everybody clear on that? Because that's very good feedback. If you know that an investigation is required, just go ahead and be proactive and start that process. So again, most of you on here are familiar with this process. You're going to go in and answer the questions accordingly. You know that if it's abuse, neglect, exploitation connected to that, you have these types that are available here for you to choose. And you might start out having that information You might not necessarily have this information when you initially started, but by saving it, it'll still be open and you have the ability to come back in and put in those findings. One of the features within Therap, again, you can decide how you want to use it at your organization if you decide to use it at all. But if you have more than one person who has been trained in order to do the investigations and you have a team of people who are involved in that process, you do have the ability to come in and open this up and to tag someone and make them an investigator, right? So I could come in and I could say, Devin is going to be the one who is investigating this particular issue. This would tag him. And so once this is saved in the system, he will see a count on his dashboard that says, hey, you have an open resolution. So you can kind of decide how you want that to go, if you want to use that feature or not. If there are any comments or what have you, as an investigator, Devin can go in and add that information, or I could add in a note to him that is related to those investigations. There's also the section for the investigator narratives. You have the section here that you can put who was involved in the situation. Any of those staff names that work for your agency are going to be the ones that show up. What was their involvement type? Were they a coordinator, alleged victim, perpetrator, witness, what have you? You have the ability to put that in there and then add those additional comments. Here's a section for resolution, the narrative, and the notes, and also a place to add in staff actions. So again, we have all of that information there, but you want to fill this out in the way that Sandy and her team are asking you to fill this information out. Okay.
And
so Sandy, yep.
Yeah, actually, when you get down to supporting a document, it doesn't matter to us if you fill out that information that Shay did. What we need is the investigation report. If you need a template of how it's supposed to look, just send me an email and I will give you another one. But that's what we need. At that section that says supporting documents, we need you to submit two things: handwritten statements from everybody that's involved. Do not attach texts. We had somebody that text their handwritten statement. Those two don't match. Text and handwritten statements, they don't match. So make sure they're handwritten statements that are by the staff, signed and dated. Second is the investigation report. And when we are looking at the investigation report, and the new report, you don't have to go back and type all the staff information because you got the handwritten statements from them. So that's why if you want me to, I can send you the updated. I thought I sent it to everybody, but if you need one, I'll send it back. So you need to attach it, because what I have to do, I have to take that investigation report and send it to Montgomery. If it's not attached, I'm going to send it back and say you need to attach this investigation report. Also, do not take pictures of an investigation report. I think sometimes we get kind of crazed with technology. I cannot take that and send it to Montgomery. I need it actually in Word form attached to this GER. That's it, Shay.
Very good. So
can we stay right there? Can we stay right there for 1 second?
Yep.
So, Sandy, just want to ask a question that came up.
Okay.
Just want to get some clarity for everyone that's listening. So,
okay.
Is it 15 working days that you have to complete the investigation?
Starting from the event date is 15 days. So I'm going to count from the event date, 15 working days.
Okay.
Very good.
And so you won't get confused, and where the GER is 5 days from when we review it. So if we reviewed it Tuesday, and I asked you for a follow-up, it's due next Tuesday. But for the resolutions, investigations, there are 15 business days from the event day.
Very good. All right, so pop quiz, answer in the question section. Which button should you click as you are finishing the GER resolution? Save or close? Let me see your answers in the question section. Very good, very good. So, majority of you answered save. One person answered close, and that is incorrect. Okay? When you are doing this and you are finished, you are only clicking save to save your answers. Sandy and her team would answer close. All right? Just want to make sure we are clear on that. So when you are finishing, you are hitting save. Sandy and her team, once they've done their review, will close it out. All right. Very good. Devin, do remind me where I'm going from here.
We're
One
on
more thing before we go into question and answer. I'm sorry, say again.
We're on multi-provider ISCOM.
Thank you. As you are working within your system or even within the GER, sometimes there is the ability to hit send via SCOM. But I want to reference this from the standpoint of oftentimes if Sandy is communicating with you or others who may be communicating with you or you're trying to communicate to the oversight account, you do have the ability to use our SCOM system and send what we call a multi-provider SCOM. In order to do that, it is important that you make sure that you have the appropriate privileges turned on. Again, we covered this morning in our admin session. I'm just going to hit this really quick and also let you know that there is a reference guide on your Alabama page that relates to it. But under your user privileges, you want to make sure that in this agency-wide and administrative section that under your SCOM roles, you have both enable full SCOM and multi-provider SCOM. Now, I do recognize that some people who are on the call today may not be provider administrators. So if you do not have this functionality and you need to be able to communicate with Sandy and her team via SCOM, please make sure that your provider administrator turns these particular privileges on for your user account. Okay? And that gives you the ability to send a multi-provider SCOM. You can click on compose, depending on whether you're talking about a specific person or it's just a general one. You'd be able to click on whichever one you need. When you need to send something to Sandy and her team, you're going to click the checkbox next to SCOM where it says cross-provider SCOM, and you're going to choose the oversight account. Okay, I'm in a demo account, so mine does not have the Alabama ADMH oversight in there, but you would be able to see that in your own. You're going to click on the arrow in the blue box, and in here, you would be able to type in Sandy's name. Sandy is not in this account because I'm in a demo account. So, but you'll know that you're sending it to the right one. You'll see her name. You'll see oversight next to it. And let's say that I also wanted to copy Devin. We worked together on this. I wanted to make sure that he was aware of what I was sending to that person at the oversight account. Notice that the people who are in oversight are in yellow. People who are at the in our regular account are in blue. I'm going to decide what is the priority of the information I'm sending, high, medium, or low. I would put in my subject title and then type in my email. And once I do that, I'm going to hit send at the bottom of our page. So you do have the ability to communicate multi-provider SCOM. One of the things that I did want to reference is how many of you have ever put in a GER and it was related to abuse, neglect, and exploitation, and you submitted it, and then you went to do the rest that you needed to do in terms of follow-up, and now you couldn't see it. Has anybody ever had that issue? If so, could you write yes in the could you write yes in the question area? Anybody had that issue where it seemed like your GER just disappeared and you couldn't find it? All right, so I'm assuming that everybody's good on that. Then that means that you have the appropriate GER roles on for those people who are involved in that process. So I don't even need to go over that. Just wanted to make sure that people are aware of what needs to be turned on in order to be able to see that. All right, Devin, remind me again. We're good, right?
Yes.
Okay, so now Sandy has done just such a great job of answering and giving so much information as we've been going through the presentation. This is the part where we want to open it up for questions. So if you have questions that are directed towards Sandy with policy, procedures, questions that you have about the incident management process, please go ahead and put those questions in that question section. This is why we asked for her to be on. As she said in the beginning, please ask your questions. We want to make sure that when you leave this session, you are really clear on what is expected, and that you are able to do your work with efficiency and effectiveness.
So there is a question that that has been already posted earlier, and I didn't answer it at the time. Because I'm Shay, I want you and Sandy to answer this question that has been submitted.
Okay.
So Shay, I'll start with you, and then you can let Sandy answer it from the state perspective. So from the Therap perspective is, does Therap plan on making it possible to edit a GER after it has been approved instead of having to delete and create a new GER?
Okay, so from the Therap perspective, that functionality is available, but is typically available for our state contract leaders. Okay, it is not the functionality that they necessarily turn on for providers. So that is why we tell people, make sure that you are very careful when you're going through the information. Make sure that you are thorough, that you've done your investigation, that you've got that team of people who are your second set of eyes. Because when you hit approve from the provider standpoint, that is kind of like sealing that documentation off and putting it in a file. And the only thing that you can do, just for sort of a visual analogy, is staple a piece of paper to the back of it, right? Or write an additional note at the bottom of it. But the actual body and content of the information cannot be changed. So it is very important that your team is very aware of what should be included in that content, and thorough in that internal investigation, so that you're not having to delete and start over. Sandy, I'm gonna hand that off to you.
As far as the state is concerned, they're still working on new changes that they plan on implementing for GERs and Therap and incidents. My thing is, like, if anybody has attended the in-service that we conducted here at the office, you'll know that one thing I tell you, just like Devin told you, you tell a story. You know, who, what, why, how. I'll answer all of those questions, and especially important for the person that's approving them. Don't approve. Somebody told me, a provider told me, I just approve that she put it in. No, you're approving, and you're saying that I've read everything in this GER. It's all correct, and now I'm sending it to you. So who's ever approving, that's your backup to say everything. I submitted everything I need so that when anybody picks up that GR, they'll know what you're talking about, what happened, and what was the consequences, and so forth. So it's no nothing that we've been aware, because we hadn't got all the changes. One change that we do know is that they are getting ready to change, instead of 72 hours before you report a GR, they're going to change that to 48. So for any of you, if you one of those persons that wait forever to put in a GR and you wonder why we send it back, why was this GR late? That's why, because right now it's 72, but it's getting ready to change to 48. Med errors, they are due when they happen, not by the 5th of the following month. They are due when they happen. That's it. I'm through, Shay.
Okay, so I wanted to raise another. I was hoping that somebody else had maybe put a question in um but so I wanted to ask just a clarifying question with regards to COVID, to just bring this up. And I don't know if the providers here are struggling in this end, but just in case someone is and you don't feel comfortable asking, I just sort of want to raise the question. So, see if I have one that's sort of open already. Worklist. What do I have on this one? Yep. When providers are going in, Sandy, from your perspective, and they are filling out this first part, right? With regards to the incident with COVID. So let's say in this scenario, a staff um, has been working with an individual, and they now, they called out sick, and they have gone in, they've tested positive, so they have exposed the individual that they have been providing supports for. When it comes to this first section, describe what happened before the event. As they are telling their story, is it sufficient enough for them to just say that what happened before the event was the staff reported testing positive for COVID? Um,
Yeah, but if that's all the information they have. It could be the staff calling said they were, experiencing shortness of breath or whatever. We've had different scenarios. And then we had up in another region, and they said not another area, and they said that the individuals had went to a wrestling match. And people got exposed that way. More details that you give us, we appreciate it. And don't wait for us again on this particular situation to say what did you do for the individual. It's just like the future corrective actions. It'll go there that all the individuals were taken to the primary doctor, to the health department, wherever, and they were all tested. Everyone has been quarantined for 14 days. We want all that information. A lot of, like I said, I prefer you call me first, even before you put your GER in, because I report to the COVID team every day, no matter what time it is. When people call me, and a lot of providers have been very good about calling me and letting me know that the individual has been exposed and what's the plan of action. A couple, not that many, I found when we were reviewing GERs. Because again, if you put it in and I'm not going to review it to Tuesday, I won't know. And see, Montgomery is keeping account, and just like everybody nationwide, of how many people have been tested and exposed and so forth. So if you report them immediately, as soon as you call me, I'm gonna go back to the teams and I'm gonna let them know. But whatever information you got, that's what we want, Shay. As much information as they got.
All right, and I just want to sort of piggyback on something that I heard you say, and that is, in this example, all of the information was sort of put here, and there wasn't any information about the corrective actions taken. So what I'm hearing you say is, from the providers that you're supporting in your region, you want as much details as possible about, when the staff reported it, how the individuals are feeling, things of that nature. But also down here, you want to know immediately, we have quarantine. What have you done to support the individual in terms of the corrective actions taken? Is that a correct summary?
Right, exactly. Because if I look at this GR, I'm just saying this about the staff. We don't provide services to the staff. I'm not trying to be clear, but it's the truth.
Right.
So we need what you're gonna do, because I think they haven't put the individual names there, but we want to know. Say he's the only individual. Okay, then you need to let us know what corrective actions you're gonna do for that person, or if he has roommates, what corrective actions is gonna be done. What's the feature? So and that's why we and in a GR, that's a big thing that happens across the board. People are not filling out each section. I don't care if it is for the virus or what. Fill out each section. If not, the team gonna look at it. 9 times 10, Barry or somebody gonna ask me, saying, well, what did I don't know. I'm just looking at stuff that you sent me, and like I said, and then I got to send it back because you didn't give us all the information.
So again,
we got a med error. We got a med error, and all they said was staff forgot to give the medicine. Okay, who was the staff? We don't know. What was the medication? We don't know. Was there any adverse from that person missing it? We don't know. What corrective actions going to be taken? We don't know. And what future corrective actions? And so then, all those questions, those 5 things, I'm going to put them right down in the session and send them right back to you so that you can answer. Well, you could avoid that and fill it out completely.
Right.
Tell your story each time you do a GER, no matter what it is.
Very good. All right. Now, surely by now we should have some questions that are popping up. Let's see. How long is a GER available in the view section in Therap? So if it is a low GER or a medium GER, it is going to show up on your to-do tab. Okay, so in this section where you're doing follow-up, it's going to show up. Let me do. I always like to make sure I'm quoting stuff correctly. Typically, all of our counts that are on the dashboard show up for at least 30 days. There are some, however, that will only show up for 15 days. But that does not mean that it's still not viewable. It just means that you have to search it. Okay? You have to search it within our system. So if you ever want to review this, the to-do tab, dashboard counts, it'll tell you all of the information. So if it's an approved GER in the follow-up form, it's only going to be there for 15 days. Okay. So know that is there. 15 days, it doesn't mean that it goes away. It just means that after those 15 days, you have to search for that GER. Okay.
And Shay, sometimes we do that because because it'll come off, not really come off. It's just have to search it, especially if somebody that's on the team. They so saying that you didn't get one for so and so and so and so somebody, and so I'll go hit back and search, and then we can find it.
Right.
If it's been submitted.
Right. So the other thing to know really quick, and you can pass this on to your Region 1 people, is that we do have reports in the report library. As a provider, if you are looking to sort of find out about your own COVID tracking, if you want to look at that information, type in the word COVID there, click on search, and you'll see that there's a COVID-19 report that will pull depending on the dates that you put in. And I don't know if we're going to have any that come up just because I don't know if we approved them. But that information will come up. Okay. And it comes up even if they haven't been approved. So this one is in prep and it came up. So that'll kind of help you with your tracking of information, and it gives you quite a bit of information. Okay. All right. Any other questions that are coming up? How far back can you search? Am I reading that right, Devin?
Yes, and I was typing the response, but go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead and answer.
No, go ahead.
You just have to put in the time frame. So typically, because of the amount of data that we have in our system, typically you have to do your searches like in 3-month chunks. But there's not there's not a barrier to how far you can go back. It's just the way that you put the time frame in. And then it depends on the report that you use. Okay, because different reports like event summaries that you are pulling together and putting into custom reports are going to have different search criteria versus when you go into the report library, there's going to be different frames of time. So, and if there is a certain frame of time, typically in our description, I'm just going to put GER in here. Typically in our descriptions, we'll tell you that you can only search, from this time period, or no longer than 6 months or what have you. Okay. Hopefully that was
And you can
helpful.
search also. You can search by agency and individual.
Correct. Well, from the oversight account, you can.
Right.
From the provider account, theirs is a little different.
Okay, yes. That's why I keep telling everybody I can't see what they see.
Right. Sandy's account looks completely different than you all's. Okay. Any other questions? This is good. This is good, the questions that are coming in.
It's not, well, here's one to throw out there. Well, there's one coming in. What should be an appropriate event type if a staff becomes sick in the home and need medical attention?
We just had that recently, so I answered that one for you. What it was, staff did become ill, and they had to so ill that they had to call the paramedics. They couldn't, tell her to go to the doctor. And so, because it happened at that individual home, you'll do a GER for all the individuals at that house because the paramedics and the police came to the house. Everybody said, why? Just because that's their home, and so you have to do one for that. You don't have to report anything. You can just say the staff got sick. Paramedics will call. The paramedics in the police department both showed up. She was transported to DCH, and that's enough. And no individuals were affected. I think when this happened for this particular provider, they did real good. They say the individual was asleep when all this happened. But you do have to do a GR.
Good to know.
Are there any medical related questions? Since my friend, the nurse from the regional office is on and can answer them. Have y'all got any questions for that?
Again, the biggest thing is making sure people are putting in med errors, not by the 5th of the next month, but immediately, and putting everything on them. What was the medication? Who was the staff? Was there any adverse effect? And also when individuals pass, making sure that you do your GER. Your GER is your initial mortality report. Then you're going to do a Ger resolution and attach the comprehensive mortality report. The nurse needs to fill out I think it's the second 2 sections. The first section is history of the last 5 years of medical problems, and the next section is a list of all medications. And that has to be completed by the nurse. And you attach that to the Ger resolution, and then I will send it to Montgomery. That's it.
Good stuff.
I know. If somebody's in the hospital and like Devin said, and you got your discharge paper, all we want, and sometimes it's a lot that they give you when you when you leave. You don't have to send us all. That's that page to say, the discharge, what they found, and instructions for y'all to do. You don't have to send us the whole report. That's all we need to see. And we're gonna always ask for if somebody got hospitalized for and they're gonna be there for a while. One of the questions, what I always send back is follow up on status. And again, I'm gonna give you a particular date. It's always 5 days, but in 5 days they still in the hospital. That's all you gotta say. Just come back and say continue to be in the hospital. Same thing if they go to North Harbor or to Brookwood due to a behavior problem. That's it.
All right, let's see if we have any other questions. Devin, did you bring up, you did. Okay.
And everybody make sure that you are on SCOM. You know, that's one of the first things you should do. But make sure that your individuals are listed under your account. We've been having a couple of those incidents, and that you have an SCOM. Because when it's real good that while we're there and we're reviewing and we have any questions, I can go ahead and send an SCOM to you right then.
All right. So on that point, Sandy, don't give the answer away.
Okay.
We didn't have this poll in here, but let's ask the question and Wade, you cannot participate in this question. Okay. Wade Reese, if you are still on, you cannot participate in this question. Okay. For the rest of you that are on, at your agency, are you responsible for adding individuals in your account? Are you supposed to, if a new person gets sent to you, referred to you in Adidas, or you have someone who's come to you and said that they want your services, are you responsible for putting that individual in your account? Please answer yes or no in the question area. Keep on coming. Let me see some more answers. Keep on coming. There's some more of y'all out there. I need to see what are the answers. The only person I'm not looking for an answer from, I should say, would be Wade and Barry. Okay. For the sake of time, you all are correct. The answer is no. Okay. Those individuals should be admitted to your account from the call center. And my reason for mentioning that is what Sandy just referenced. If you are putting those individuals in your account, you are creating them on your own. You are causing that individual to not be linked to the oversight account, and therefore you could be doing a GER in your account all day long, and you could have done it within the right time frame and everything. But if it's not linked to the oversight account, she cannot see it. Her team cannot see it. So please make sure you are following the proper protocol with regards to that. If you have questions on that process, you can always go to your Alabama support page, and there's documentation on that intake and referral process, how that is supposed to go. Okay. Now, I had one person on here who really wanted to see the password reset, and I almost forgot. So let me come back to that. Okay. If you are the provider administrator, you need to enable this functionality for your staff. So on your admin tab, you would come to the self password reset link. On the side over here, you are going to see that there is a question asking about enable or disable. This is a hyperlink that's basically telling you what action you are going to take. Okay, so if it says enable next to that, that means that that person does not have that functionality right now. In order to turn it on, you simply click on the word enable. And now that functionality is enabled because that answer has turned into yes. If at some point that person is not supposed to have that, you would just simply come back and disable it. Okay. As an administrator, you will have to do this person by person, and that's your only responsibility. The rest of the responsibility then falls to that staff. Okay. So if you are doing this in your own account and you have enabled that functionality for yourself, you'll want to come to this section of the admin tab and click on refresh to refresh those privileges for yourself. Okay. And you'll also do that if you're adding a new individual and they just added them to the caseload and you need to do a GER immediately. Just make sure you come down here and hit refresh. It'll make that person available on your caseload. But with regards to the password reset, you would then come over here to settings. You'll see that you have self-password reset configure. You click on configure. The first thing that it's going to ask you to do is to verify your password. So oftentimes it is the easiest to set this up. It is the easiest moment to set this up when you just recently reset your password. Sometimes you can type your password and you feel that it's wrong. Okay, you click verify, and then it'll bring you to this screen where you would put in your external email that if you were to get locked out of the system and you need password reset help, you would then be able to have a token go to this. Or if you wanted it to receive it via text to your phone, you would then have to go to our website, or you could go to your Alabama page, and there's that cell phone text notification information for password reset. It'll show you exactly what you need to do or what format you need to use in order to set up your cell phone. Once you have done those two things, you're going to simply click on update, and now it's going to make that available. So if you log out of the system and again, you're trying to log in for some reason, you cannot get in, you can't remember, then when you come to that login page, you would simply click on forgot password. You are responsible to remember these pieces of information. So you must know your login name, you must know your provider code, and you must know the email or the text format you told it to go to. Hit submit, and then it'll walk you through that process and you can reset your own password. Okay? All right. I recognize that we are 2 minutes over. Are there any questions before we end this call today?
Thank you so much, Shay and Devin. Appreciate it.
Thank you for being on, and I hope that people walked away with information that was valuable to them, that helps them in their process. Certainly feel free to reach out to us should you have any questions. We appreciate you. Stay healthy, stay safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, Devin.
Bye. Have a good evening.
Everybody, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.